Okay, guys, so basically, this is just going to be a quick video on how to get the Retro Gamer trophy in Pac-Man World Re-Pac. And I wanted to make this video because I personally found that there's a slightly easier strategy, at least I think it's a little bit easier, than the ones that you'll look up if you try to look up the strategy to get this trophy. Now, it is based on those strategies. So basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use the patterns that are used in the strategies that you can look up on PSN profiles or on YouTube halfway, and then I'm gonna stop using them. So right now, this is the beginning of my successful run, and I'm using the strategy. And just take note that there are two stages that I mess up on, and you will not want to follow what I do on those two stages, and I'll point them out, but this stage is not one of them. So essentially, every stage, I'm following the pattern until this bottom right corner is clear. So right here, I'm done following the strategy for stage 1, but I was following it up until that bottom right corner was cleared. So that's what you're going to want to do. And the reason that I stopped following the strategy at that point is because when I was watching the videos and looking at the strategy, the official quote unquote strategy, it was much more difficult, because there's a lot of precise turns and kind of weird motions where you're just sort of blindly following what the guy's doing, and there's a lot of opportunity to make dumb mistakes or just game-ending mistakes. And I wanted to make this video because a lot of people were calling this game or this trophy a platinum breaker, or they were saying it makes this platinum like a 7 out of 10 or a difficulty. People were saying that they spent hours or days trying to get this trophy. And I beat this twice. I got the platinum twice on the PS5 version and the PS4 version. And when I did it on PS5, it took me maybe 40 minutes to figure it out by using the strategy that I'm showing in this video. And in the PS4 version, which is what this recording is of, it took me 25 minutes. It took me 40 minutes and maybe 6 attempts in my first time. And it took me 25 minutes and 3 attempts in this go through. So this level right here, I messed up the strategy, so you're not going to want to follow what I do on stage 3. This is stage 3. On the previous stage, though, if you go back and you look at it, you'll notice that I did what I said. I was following the strategy, and then once I cleared the bottom right corner, I stopped following the strategy, and I did my own thing. And I don't know why exactly it works, but I think it's partially because the path that you take at the beginning of each stage, the first half of each stage, I guess you could say, it sort of causes all the ghosts to group together in not the same area, but in a sort of general area, and it causes them to be locked into a pattern that allows you to more easily clear out the rest of the map, as opposed to using the official strategy, which kind of just has you following a predetermined path regardless of what the ghosts are doing. And a lot of the time when I was watching the videos, they would be following really pointless paths, or just sort of like going over areas that there weren't any power pellets, but there was no reason for them to be on those areas. So I figured I would make this video because I found it to be much easier. And based on the comments that I was reading, I was like, clearly the real strategy is extremely difficult for some people, and I think that this would be an easier way to go about it. So notice again, the pattern is a little different now from the first couple levels, but again, follow the pattern that I did on this stage. Once you clear that bottom right corner like I just did, do your own thing. You can try and sort of replicate what I'm doing, if you want, but I can't guarantee that would work, because once I stop following the pattern, it throws off what the ghosts are supposed to do. So there's no guarantee that your ghost will behave the same as mine did once I stopped following the pattern. And I believe I mess up this stage. Yes, I messed up this stage as well. So don't follow what I do on this stage. And if you want to look up, I believe the strategy for this stage is the same as the next one, but I could be wrong about that. So if you want to look up the strategy, you can see what the correct path is supposed to be. But again, once you clear the bottom right corner, stop following that strategy. You can try it if you want. I just think, especially if you're not someone who generally played or plays Pac-Man, like if you're not pretty good at the game before you play this, I wouldn't recommend using the official strategy, because it is much more difficult and it requires you to kind of be more ready than you might necessarily be for a game like this. And I will say real quick, disclaimer, that I literally have a Pac-Man machine. I play Pac-Man on a fairly regular basis, so that could be partially, the reason why I found this trophy to be so easy, because I was just like, okay, thanks for the strategy, but I understand the game. But who knows? I don't think that's it, because I just think that it's easier to do it the way that I'm showing you guys to do it. One piece of advice, and don't worry about this pause screen. What I'm doing when I'm pausing like this, I'm checking my phone to see to make sure I'm following the correct strategy for the correct map, because the strategy does change. Not every map, but I think the stage 1 has its own strategy, then stage 2, 3, and 4 have their own strategy, and then stages 5, 6, and 7 have their 5 and 6 have their own strategy, and then 7 and 8 have their own, or something like that. But yeah, so you can follow this one though. This stage, I'm doing the strategy correctly. You'll notice it changed again. And this one is probably the most useful of all the strategies. So you're going to notice that I'm going to kind of do this box, like I'm going to do a square shape around the entire map. And again though, once this bottom right corner is clear, boom, I stop following the strategy. The second that I grab that last dot over on the right, on the bottom right, I stop following the strategy. But anyway, the last piece of advice that I want to give before I just start pointing out the important parts for the rest of the video is, if you do lose a life, or you make a wrong turn, or you accidentally mess up one of the strategies, you don't necessarily need to immediately quit and give up. But you need to be extremely patient, because the key to this game is not giving in to that voice in your head that's telling you to try to grab all the power pellets as fast as possible when you think you're in trouble. Don't go for the power pellet or the regular dots when you think that you're in trouble. If you make a wrong turn or you start to get cornered, just make it your 100% number one priority to avoid the ghosts, and eventually you'll get an opening. Now, sometimes that's not always going to work. Obviously, if you really screw up, something, or if you're literally in a corner and you make a wrong turn, you could be screwed, and you might just have to take that L. But you should be fine for the most part. And you'll notice here too, one of the other reasons I made the video is because a lot of the people that were complaining or frustrated trying to accomplish this trophy, they were talking about how they had to keep restarting because they needed all 3 lives when they got to stage 8, or else they wouldn't be able to do it. And you'll notice that on this run, this is my successful run, I messed up twice on stage 2 and stage 4, I believe. 2 of the easier stages. and they were dumb mistakes. They weren't even like it wasn't even like I followed the pattern, but it didn't go according to plan. I just immediately screwed them up, and it cost me lives. And I don't lose this last extra life, and I managed to do the rest of the run successfully. So, but by following the strategy that I implemented. So I don't think it's quite as difficult as it appears to be. And the trophy's not going to pop on the video. You won't see it, but I mean, it'll be clear once I'm done playing, I believe. But I'll point out when the trophy pops and when we get to the end of the video. But yeah, I don't really have anything else to say. I'm just gonna sorry, I was taking a drink. I felt like my throat was getting a little dry there. But I'll just point out the important bits, and I'll point out when the trophy pops, so you guys will know. So again, this is I'm pretty sure that the square strategy lasts for the last few levels. But yeah, bottom right, clear it, do your own thing. Have a nice day. Pretty easy. Just don't be patient. Don't be overly ambitious. If you're going for something and you think that a ghost is going to beat you to a corner, you're probably right. I believe that this stage that I'm on right now is the final stage, and I believe it has the same square shape pattern. I guess we'll see, though. And if anyone has any questions, you can just leave it in the comments. And if I left anything out, or if you think that there's something that I'm not mentioning that should be mentioned, and I'll leave a link to the video that I used for my strategies, so that if you want to see the full strategy, or if you want to double check the strategies for the stages that I messed up on, you can use the exact one that I used, because I'm not sure if the strategy is the exact same across all the different people that have made videos or guides for this. So I'll try to find the one that I used and link it. And so yeah, this final stage, it's the same exact pattern, big square. And they're a lot faster on this level, so I don't go to the left like I had been doing, because the teal one was down there, and the power pellet didn't last long enough, and he's fast enough to where I needed to go somewhere else. And you'll notice, I have a couple of close calls here, but I've still got one life left after this. And again, I planned out my strategy pretty successfully. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Right there is when the trophy pops. When the second that stage ends and this little cinematic thingy starts going, that's all you need to do. That's the end of stage 8. This is the beginning of stage 9. Once you get to that point, the trophy will pop. Yeah, I mean, I don't think this should really take you more than an hour if you just follow that first part of the pattern. And the beginning of the patterns are pretty easy to memorize. Most of them, it's just kind of making a little loop around the map. But yeah, so I hope this is helpful. And good luck to anyone that is trying to get this trophy.